it's time for another tag, and this time it's the Disney Songbook TV Tag. So my friend Lynn tagged me in this the other day. So when I first saw that it was Disney, I was a bit dubious because I'm not a huge Disney fan really. I don't know much about it. But turns out it's actually mostly to do with TV, this tag, so that's right on my street because I love TV and watch far too much of it. So basically the concept is each question is related to like a Disney song, but it's basically about your sort of favourite TV shows and stuff. So I shall just get started and the questions will be below if you want to join in. So question 1 is part of your world. Which TV world would you like to be a part of? And I think probably for most I'm going to have a couple of answers because I do watch a lot of TV. So I think for this one I'd probably say It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because it seems like such fun. If you haven't seen it before, it's basically 4 friends who own a bar in Philadelphia, and the bar is pretty unpopular, it doesn't really get many visitors, and they pretty much just spend their time drinking in the bar, going on strange little adventures, playing tricks on each other, and generally just like getting up to hijinks. Probably not great because they're all sort of basically functioning alcoholics, but it's really fun, and if you haven't seen it before you definitely should watch it because it's not like classic American humour, it's more sort of a little bit dark and satirical almost. But yeah, it's really good, so you should watch It's Always Sunny if you haven't seen it before, and I would love to like be a little part of their gang. Another answer which I'd probably say for this question is Freaks and Geeks, which again is a bit of a cult show. Not that many people that I've spoken to seem to have watched this before, but it's such a good show. It's set in the early 1980s in sort of middle America, and it follows like a brother and sister who are both sort of on the edge of the Freaks group and the Geeks group. So it's basically just following them around high school and trying to fit in with their friends and stuff. But it's such like a nice representation of high school. Like I feel like it's very realistic, like a lot of teen shows, especially American teen shows. I'm just like, I don't relate to this at all. This is not what my school experience was like. But this seems like a lot more, it's kind of more low-key, a bit more realistic, and it sort of deals with issues that you genuinely might have come across. It stars lots of people who have gone on to become quite famous, like Jason Segel, James Franco, Seth Rogen, people like that. And it's just really funny and quite nice and sort of endearing because they're all a bit sort of hapless but in like a really like nice endearing way, and it just seems like it'd be quite a nice environment to be a part of. And I also love the 1980s, like anything to do with the 80s, I love it, so to be able to like go to school in that sort of time would also be amazing. Okay, so question 2 is Let It Go. Which TV show did you not want to finish because you loved it so much? And I think the only answer I could possibly give for this is Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad is like my favourite TV show probably of all time. It's just so good and it's just amazing. Like I am quite glad, like as Lynn said in her tag, I'm glad they finished it when they did. They sort of ended it on a high. It still had all the original cast and the original storyline still made sense, and it still had a huge like cult following at that point, so I think ending it on a high was a really good idea. But still I was quite sad that it was over because I loved it so much. I really enjoy character-based dramas. Obviously the plot is important to an extent, so it drives it along and stuff, but it's really like the character development that I really connect with in TV shows and films. So just like seeing the character progression, especially of Jessie throughout the series, just like amazing. If you're like one of the 5 people on the planet who still hasn't watched Breaking Bad, you need to watch it because it's so good. Just like seeing like Walt sort of progress from like nice normal house husband sort of thing to like an absolute like maniac of a drug dealer was crazy. But it was, yeah, really Jessie that I loved seeing the progression of the most. Yeah, he started off as sort of like a tearaway useless layabout who just didn't really do much with his life, and he was like a bit ridiculous, and he didn't really have a great moral compass. And then at the end of the show, like, he was just a completely different person. You just really felt for him. He'd like matured so much, and he'd been through so much, and just he was like a shell of a man by that time, just because of everything that had happened to him. And his character had done like a full like 360 from like stupid little boy to like a man who just like couldn't even deal with his own life because it was just like insane. So yeah, definitely Breaking Bad. Next question is Beauty and the Beast. What TV show do you think will be or is timeless? And for this, I think I'd probably say Mr. Bean. I think Mr. Bean is one of those like love-hate things. You either love it or you hate it, and I personally love Mr. Bean. I think it's just so funny, and it just works so well. It's such a simple concept. It doesn't even have like hardly any speaking in it, and it just makes sense. Like, it's just, oh, I just love it. It's so funny. I used to watch it all the time with my dad when I was little, and I still watch it on occasion if it comes on the TV, and I love it so much. Like, it does in a way like look sort of dated just because of like the costumes and stuff, but the humour isn't dated at all. I think it's just so simple and sort of universal kind of humour that it's amazing, and I love Mr. Bean so much. I'd also say for this one, Friends, like Lynn and Lindsay also mentioned in their tags, all their links will be below and stuff. Friends is also another one which I just, anytime it's on TV, I'll just sit and watch 3 or 4 episodes in a row, and you just don't really get tired of it. It's just so easy to watch, and it's still funny, and I still laugh at it. Next question is called So This Is Love. What TV show were you hesitant to watch at first but ended up loving? I kind of struggled to think of an answer for this because I think in general I'm quite good at sort of working out whether I'd like a show or not before I start watching it. So there hasn't really been many that I have been like hesitant to watch because I kind of know straight away either I'll like it or I won't. But sort of one that I could sort of think of was Peep Show. And I don't think it was so much that I was hesitant to watch it, it just kind of never got round to it, and it never sort of appealed to me like above other shows that were on my sort of to watch list. Because when it came out, I think I must have only been about 12 or 13 maybe, so I kind of missed the boat right at the start, and then it sort of progressed and like I hadn't watched any of it, and then it sort of felt a bit left behind. I was like, oh, it's fine, I won't bother watching it. And like from like the sort of stand-up or like comedy sketches and stuff I'd seen from Mitchell and Webb, I was like, they're okay, but I don't find them hugely funny. But eventually, I think it was about a year or 2 ago, I watched through all the Peep Show back catalogue, and I loved it. It's just so good, so funny, and quite sort of original, especially for the time it came out. It was quite original, using the sort of first person camera perspective, and it's nice just to see like normal, like everyday characters in a sitcom, like, because normally sitcoms are quite sort of distant from your like average life, but having this set in like a world that you can actually imagine, but yet it's still quite surreal and a bit weird and quite funny, I thought that was like quite a nice thing to watch. So yeah, and now I love Peep Show, and I'm so glad that it's back on TV now for its final season. And yeah, if you haven't watched it, if you've been hesitant for any reason, I definitely recommend having a go and watching it. Next question is, friend like me, which character would you like to be your best friend? I think for this question I'd say April Ludgate from Parks and Recreation, or maybe Ron Swanson. Basically any of the Parks and Recreation cast, because I love them all, but I think mostly April because she's just like kind of like very similar to my personality, but obviously much more exaggerated. I love the fact that she just doesn't care about anyone, but like deep down she does, which I feel like is quite similar to me. Like, I've got a very hard exterior, but I do care about some things, and yeah, I think we're just like very similar people, and we'd either be best friends or like I would be her if I was in the Parks and Rec universe. Like, I would probably be April, but I'd also like to be best friends with her. And yeah, Ron Swanson as well. I feel like if you mixed April and Ron together, that would basically be me. He's like, I just love him. He's just so funny, but in like a way that he's not even trying to be funny. It's just great. And yeah, I'd quite like to be a part of Parks and Rec, please, if someone could arrange that for me. And the last question is reflection. Which TV show really made you think or changed the way you viewed things? The main one I can think of for this is Black Mirror, which is a UK thing. If you're from the UK, you probably have seen it on Channel 4 at some point. It's written by Charlie Brooker, who's sort of well known as doing sort of satire of sort of modern culture, and they're just so good. Each episode sort of follows like a different storyline, but it's always sort of related to like a satirical take on an aspect of modern life. Like there's one about sort of reality TV shows, there was one about sort of social media and like online stuff. There's one about sort of politics and the Prime Minister, which ended up being quite relevant a couple of months ago. But yeah, they're just so well made, and it's really quite thought-provoking because it's sort of, each episode is set in a sort of an alternate universe, but it's very similar to like the world we're living in now, so it almost seems like it could be real and it could happen, and it's only a matter of time before it does happen. The one in particular which sort of sticks in my mind is the episode where there's a couple and one of them dies and the other one sort of doesn't want to let go, doesn't want to let themselves mourn, so they sort of create a sort of robot version, and it's not like a robot as in like they stick bits of metal together and like glue their face on or whatever. Like, it's not that kind of robot. It's more like, it starts off kind of like a chat bot thing, so the like robot version sort of pulls things that the real person has said on their social media, on their website, on Facebook, on basically anywhere online that they've written something. The chatbot thing sort of draws it all together, and then it creates sentences like that person actually would have said, and it's able to sort of speak in the way they would have spoken and stuff, and it sort of carries on from there. And like that, like it genuinely could happen, like that sort of thing like seems like it could be real, so that's why it sort of really makes me think, and it's quite scary sometimes, some of them, but they are really good and really entertaining, but quite thought-provoking as well. And also for this question I wanted to briefly mention Louie Theroux, because I love documentaries and I could sit and watch endless documentaries, especially I love ones about sort of serial killers and criminals and that sort of thing, but Louie Theroux is definitely my favourite documentary filmmaker. He's just so like endearing, but like he does it really well. Like, I love seeing his progression from sort of Weird Weekends in the early 90s up until the sort of documentaries he does now, like LA Stories and ones like that, and you can really see a huge progression in the way he makes films. And yeah, they're just so good, especially the later ones. They're quite hard-hitting and a bit more sort of in-depth, but I also love the early documentaries, the Weird Weekends ones where he just goes around and visits people like from strange little subcultures and sort of gives an insight into their life. I think he's really good at sort of making films like without judgment, but also like quite balanced, so you can sort of make up your own mind about what's happening, and most of the time you are aware like these people are totally mental, but you can also sort of sympathise with them in a way because he's very good at presenting sort of a balanced view. So yeah, if you haven't ever watched Louie Theroux documentaries, like a lot of them are on Netflix, so definitely they're worth a watch. And so the final bit is Colours of the Wind, who do you tag? And I'm just going to go for the easy option and tag everyone. So if you watched this video and you've enjoyed it, please feel free to join in. All the questions will be below, and yeah, let me know if you decide to do the tag because I'd love to watch it, and hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!